Hello everyone, buckle up for the new episode of Organic Chat, the one and only podcast made to motivate everyone with a nice topic every week, as seemingly simple as getting dishes done or as time consuming as trying to establish a routine. We all understand how daily struggles in life can cause us to lose motivation. Sometimes having a lot to do can be overwhelming to the point of feeling hopeless, and we want to give up even before we begin. Lack of motivation is often an issue with those dealing with both physical and mental issues. We all understand that sometimes just getting out of bed is a task in itself. So, once again, I welcome you all to the Organic Chat, and this is PJ, your host, and this podcast is all about not buying organic fruits or vegetables. It's all about bringing positive vibes to our family, friends, community, and to the universe. Let's go into the topic. Today's topic is about this Millennial Generation addiction. The technology is great, it's lots of fun, very helpful, makes lots of things easy. But like anything in the world, there is too much of a good thing. And I think one of the things we don't talk about is what is the balance of technology in our lives. And I would argue that many of us, it's out of balance. We know that the chemical dopamine is released whenever we get a bing buzz or a flash of beep from a phone or email, right? So dopamine is an exact same chemical that is released when in alcohol, nicotine, and gambling. In other words, it can be addictive if left unbalanced. A little alcohol is great. Too much of alcohol, not so great. Gambling is fun. Too much gambling, really bad. Technology is wonderful. Too much technology can be very destructive and destroy our relationships. Like all addictions, destroy our relationships. And so, one of the things we are not considering is what is the right balance. If you wake up in the morning and check your phone before you say good morning to your spouse, that's the problem, right? If you have phantom beeps, that's the problem. That comes from something, right? If you find yourself incapable of getting through a day without needing to check, that's a problem, right? Now, where it gets really dangerous is with kids, millennials. Some of them aren't kids anymore. So, almost all alcoholics on the planet discovered alcohol when they were children. When we are very, very young, the only thing we need is the approval of our parents. When we go through adolescence, we now need approval from our peers. Frustrating for our parents, very important for us, because it allows to acculturate outside our immediate families into a larger group. Very stressful time, and we are supposed to learn in this time of anxiety to rely on our friends, to reach out our friends for help, and that's we are supposed to learn. Some people quite by accident discover alcohol, and they learn numbing effects of dopamine actually help them to get through the stress of adolescence. This connection unfortunately becomes hardwired. And so, for the rest of their lives, when they face any kind of financial, career, or social stress, they don't turn to a person. They turn to a bottle, right? Now, we have age restrictions on alcohol, cigarettes, and gambling. Because we know that the immature mind is not yet strong enough or mature enough to deal with the powers of these addicting chemicals. These addicting chemicals, we put an age limit. We have no such age limit or age restriction on social media or cell phones. So ostensibly, what we have done is we have thrown open the liquor cabinet and we have said to our adolescents, I know this whole adolescence things is really stressful. Here's the vodka, take much as you need. That's basically what we have done. And so what we have is an entire generation that's growing up addicted. And like all addicts, they haven't learned the skill set of when they suffer stress to turn to a person. What they do is they turn to a device. And what that only does is increase senses of isolation and loneliness and can actually destroy a relationship. And we all had this experience when you are with somebody walking down the street in a meeting or for a dinner or whatever, and they pull out their phones and you feel like an idiot, right? Now take an entire generation that there is no memory of time before the device. We at least reference times before cell phones and internet and social media. We at least have a point of reference. They don't. So this is their normal. That's how they feel. So we have an entire generation growing up with addiction and an increased sense of loneliness and isolation. We're already seeing the results. We are seeing increased rates of suicide among this generation. We are seeing increased rates of accidental deaths due to the overdoses among this generation. We are seeing increased numbers of mass homicides, largely performed by this generation. School shootings, over 70% by the kids born after the year 1984. Schools, universities are now dealing with numbers that they never dealt before of kids requesting leaves of absence due to depression. We are already seeing it, right? We are seeing the effects of loneliness and isolation. We are seeing it, and yet we are not reacting to it. We are not doing anything about it. And parents are a lot to blame for this, because there are some schools who want to restrict phones in the schools, and the parents who demand that they keep their phones in case of emergencies. Seriously, when was the last time the cell phone was used for an emergency? What time you're coming home, what time you should pick up. And if there is an emergency, you call the office and they know that what classroom the kid is in, and 5 minutes they bring the kid to talk to you on the phone. Like the old way worked just fine. Remember, we talked before about innovation. It has to solve the real human problem. What human problem exactly did we solve? By compressing the 5-minute time frame, we added to the problem. We did not solve it. So that's one huge problem. So combine that with the fact that you have an addicted generation that doesn't have the skill set to ask for help. Combined with the fact that they are so good at Facebook and Instagram, they're good at putting filters on everything. So they're good at showing you how smart and strong they are. These kids who commit suicide, and you'll go look at the Instagram, you don't have no clue they were depressed because they are happy and they're star athletes. You have no clue because they are really good. When we say silly things like, my door is always open, you're assuming that you have courage to come in. Combine the fact the subject largely, not all, but too many, to a failed parenting strategy. But their parents told them they were special, they could have anything they wanted, they can be anything they want. They got medals for coming in last, which is, by the way, we know doesn't work. It devalues the medal for the one who comes in the first and the one who came in the last. It makes them full stupid because they did not deserve it, right? The kids got into honors classes because they deserved it, because the parents complained. And some of them got good grades not because of they earned, because the teachers did not want to deal with the parents. And the kids graduate to college and they get a job, and in an instant to find they are not special. They don't get anything for coming in the last. The parents can't get them a promotion, and you can't have whatever you want just because you want it. And in an instant their entire self-image is shattered. And so you have an entire generation growing up with lower self-confidence than previous generations. So you have lower self-confidence than previous generations, combined with an inability to ask for help with things that you are struggling with, and you turn to a social media or a device to keep checking, you count your likes, you count your followers, and if somebody unfriend, oh my god, it's trauma, right? The way they break up with each other is that just ghost each other. They cut each other out and stop returning phone calls, because they don't have skill set to say it's not working. It's not me, it's you. There's no closure on things. Combined with the fact there is institutionalized impatience. So they have grown up in the world of an instant gratification. You want to buy something, you go to Amazon, it shows up the next day. You want to get in touch with someone, you don't leave a message on their machine and wait for hours to get the message back. You text them and you get the back immediately. You want to watch a movie, you just log on and watch it. You don't have to check movie times, right? Everything happens in an instant. You want to get a date, swipe right. You don't even have to muster up the courage to go like, hey, you don't have to. There you go, you got a date, right? And so the problem is, they are accused being entitled. I don't think they are entitled at all. Not at all. I think they're impatient. I keep meeting these fantastic, smart, driven, ambitious, idealistic, fantastic kids who graduated school, they got a job, they want to make an impact to the world. And I go up them and say, how is it going? And they say, I think I'm going to quit. I'm like, why? They're like, I'm not making an impact. I'm like, you've been here for 8 months. And it is if they see the summit of a mountain. It is, they're standing at the foot of the mountain and they can see summit. They wanted to make an impact. They don't see is the mountain, the large immobile object. You can go up fast, you can go slow, I don't care. But there's still a mountain. But they don't understand is that life, that relationship and career fulfillment are a journey. There's no app for that. I got nothing. You got to go through a slow, plodding, annoying, meandering process called career and life. But if they don't get it in 8 months, they go look for somewhere else. And if they don't get it, they look for somewhere else. It is impatience. And because they don't have the skill set to ask for help, and because they feel lonely, it compounds and compounds. So then we dump them in office environments that are built on theories from 80s and 90s that prioritizes a number before a person, and no one really cares about their confidence and their personal growth. They are just numbers on a spreadsheet. And so they enter work cultures that don't help them. And the problem is where they're entering the workforce at a deficit. I hear from kids, they tell me that they struggle to form deep, meaningful relationship, and the companies don't care. And so it's destructive to them as individuals, but ultimately it will hurt the companies because more and more millennials are entering the workforce. I believe, to your point about solution, that now is the responsibility on companies is even greater than it's ever been before to take care of its people, because it's the environment in which we are asking our youngest workers to work in isn't built to help them. I can't even imagine what the suicide and homicide and just the rates of depression, accidental death due to going to look in the future. It's going to reach the epidemic. The statistics are already alarming, and yet nobody is sounding any alarm bells. Parents have to intervene. We have to stop giving our kids free access to social media and phones at young ages. They are not ready for it. Their minds cannot cope with dopamine. Balance is fine. You can give kid a phone, but they can't use it in their bedroom. They can't have it in the dinner table. They can't take it to school. They can only have it to a certain hour and take it away. Their children, you can take the phone away. We have got to intervene as parents. But as companies, we have to deal with the influx. They are coming into our companies with addiction. I see it all time. Walk through any office. You will see the older employees have their phones on their sides of their computers they're working. You will see the youngest employees have their phones face up in front of their keyboards between their arms as they're working. This is how they work, and the science is alarming. They did the experiments on mice where they did the multitasking. They put the flashing lights on them to mimic going from computer to cell phone and TV to the computer. The mice that were exposed to changing lights, it took them 3 times longer to solve a maze than mice weren't. It did not improve when they stopped the lights, and the damage was permanent. And the leadership now is more important, and the leaders now are even more irresponsible. You're responsible for lives of human beings, and some of these human beings are your children. So okay, you are a CEO who thinks the stuff that I talk about is craziness, and you don't have time to make these changes. This is I hear. We don't have time. It's a war out there. I've actually heard executives tell that. It's war out there. I don't have time for this leadership stuff. You tinker with money. It's not war. You do have time for this. And if it's really that way, that what we are going to do, it wasn't a war. It's even more, it's an indictment. Then in peaceful times, when times are good, you weren't focusing on this stuff, right? But my point is, a lot of these executives have children of this age working in other companies. And my question is, would you like those other companies, would you like those other executives to care about the growth of your child, the confidence of your child, the career success of your child? Would you like those other companies to help your kids learn the skills of social interaction, the ability to ask for and receive help? Would you like their jobs to give that to them? Set the example. Do it for other people's children. Every single employee, 100% is someone's daughter. 100%. And if you want someone to take this responsibility for the life of your children in their company, then why don't we start taking responsibility of lives of children in our company? So until my next episode, take care. Goodbye.